Hi, everyone. Welcome to this webinar that's focused on how ServiceNow is helping telecom customers transform their digital operations. My name is Abs Chekalikar. I'm the head of telco media and technology for Asia Pacific and Japan, and I'm really happy to see you today. From an agenda perspective, what I'm going to cover off today is starting with a little bit of an overview of ServiceNow, who we are, where we've come from, our brief background and history. From that, we're going to pivot a little bit to look at our vision and strategy, some of the investments that we're making on our platform. And then finally, we're going to look at our strategy from a telco perspective, some customer use cases in the space of care transformations, assurance transformations, IT and employee transformations that our customers are delivering, leveraging the platform. And look forward to answering any questions that you might have as well at the end of the session. So ServiceNow has been in existence since 2004. We're a native software as a service company born into the cloud with a view to helping transform customer operations across all industries. If you look at kind of our growth, we've gone from milestone to milestone. We are looking to exit FY20 at over a $4 billion subscription revenue target. And we've won a lot of accolades when it comes to IT service management, software asset management, customer service, governance, risk and compliance, project and portfolio services, etc. But the most important metric, I think, on this page is the one that you see in the middle of your screen, which is our renewal rate. So 97% of our customers renew their services with ServiceNow. And if you look at telecommunications, that number is closer to 99%. Now, worldwide, we have over 400 communication service provider clients, and a lot of them across Asia Pacific and Japan as well. Let me introduce our platform a little bit to you. So at the core of our product or the platform, we've got a workflow and integration hub engine. The way I describe the workflow engine is if you can create a workflow in Visio, you can create a workflow in ServiceNow. It is completely no code, drag and drop functionality. From an integration perspective, we have a library of over 450 integrations on our store that you can pick and choose and add to those workflows. This gives you agility to kind of deploy your business processes and driving the transformation outcomes that you want. We have a very extensible database that can go all the way from the core network to your customer-facing services and horizontally across the multiple sort of support services that you've got along the way. We have a knowledge base and a service catalog, a machine learning, AI, and analytics engine. And this has actually grown quite a bit over the last 3 or 4 years. We've acquired 6, 7 companies, the last one being Element AI just 2 weeks ago. And the way ServiceNow leverages the companies that it acquires is really for their IP and the people. So what we do is we actually get that core IP from the company that we acquire and build it into the platform rather than integrating that into the ServiceNow platform. And what this means is that you've got native AI capability that is available for all of the workflows across the employee base, the customers that leverage the platform. We've also got the front-end tools. So we have the web, mobile, and conversational or virtual agent UX designer in the core platform as well. And if you need to build your own applications, you can do that using our developer tools as well. This then supports a whole series of packaged applications that sit on top. In the IT space, we have workflows focused on service management, operations management, project portfolio services, governance and risk and compliance, security operations, IT asset management, both hardware and software, and much, much more. From an employee perspective, the focus is really around how do we help transform that employee experience with HR, facilities, other workflows. And then from a customer perspective, that includes case management, field service management, communities, all of the cool stuff that your customers expect from you in terms of a leading edge digital platform from an engagement perspective. And then, as I mentioned, you've also got the app engine capability. Excuse the lightning. I'm in Singapore and it rains a lot over here, so apologies for that. If you need to build your own apps, you can actually build them using the platform as well. I mentioned we have a whole library of integrations. Here are some of the large application software vendor providers that you see in the marketplace, and there's many, many more. From a telco perspective, we're also building connectors compliant to TM Forum open APIs. We'll have our first connector launching in 2 weeks' time, and then there'll be many more to follow after that. And then at the top end of the platform, you have the experience layer. So we have our own mobile application, but we can integrate into applications that you might have deployed. We have our own web front-end portal and chatbot, but we can also integrate into existing investments that you have so that you can surface our workflows to your customers, to your people, through the channel that you want. So that is kind of the one slide I'm going to spend talking a little bit about product. If there's a bit more interest in any of these areas, please feel free to reach out to the local team or even to me. I'm happy to give you more information. I'm going to pivot a little bit around, what do our telco customers tell us? So when we look at the marketplace, we're seeing that for telco customers, their end customer expectations of service are really rising. Right, so the average NPS score in the industry is very low. It sits at 6. And then there's a lot of civil chairing that happens by the reps that actually leverage the tools that are available to support telco customers. There's also a big shift in new technologies. So 5G is here, that's also going to provide a lot of additional revenue, open up a lot of market segments, et cetera, that telcos haven't traditionally operated in. One such product family is IoT, and we see a lot of our telco customers investing heavily in IoT. I spend 50% of my time talking to customers, and there are some very common themes that come out. And then finally, the competitive landscape is changing quite a bit. So you've got these over-the-top providers that are digitally native that telcos are having to compete with now, which have a very low cost base, and they're born digital. So, the experience that you want to provide your customers really needs to sit in that category. But the good news is the mobile and digital ecosystem is expected to grow significantly between now and 2025. So if I take a step back, if you want to deliver on the promises of digital transformation, which is better experiences, more automation, increased efficiencies, you really need to make sure that you don't have this challenge of silos across the various groups that are required to serve your customer, right? So firstly, what we're hearing from a networks perspective is there's limited automation. There is a lot of legacy. There is no single view across the multiple products and services that they're supporting their customers on. From a care agent perspective, there are multiple customer service platforms that they need to log on to. Again, there is no connectivity with the back office, so they have no visibility around what the NOC teams are doing to support them. And all of this leads to frustration when it comes to the customer. So, what ServiceNow can really help you with is join the customer and the network organization, the care and the network organization together on a single platform where network teams have better insights into the health of the network and the impacts that the services that they support are having. The agents have got better real-time information to provide to the customers when they ring in. And then customers essentially get a better service, proactive communications, and faster resolution or completion of orders, et cetera, that they might have. And that's what a lot of our customers are leveraging the ServiceNow platform for. So there are 4 complex challenges that we can solve on a single platform. From a customer perspective, we can give them a better experience and faster results. From a network perspective, we can connect the front to the back end and provide improved visibility and real-time insights. We can help you transform your processes to make them digital first, to be more efficient, cost-effective, lean. And for your workforce, we can provide them with a better working experience, supported by best of breed experiences, digitally native platforms that are enabled by AI, machine learning, and automation, as well as analytics. Now, I touched on the fact that a lot of telco customers leverage ServiceNow. I won't read through a lot of these logos, but here are some of the large brands that work with us. We are growing at high double digits within APJ. In fact, it is the fastest growing market in ServiceNow, which is the fastest growing SaaS company in the world. But I want to spend some time focused on 4 specific business objectives that customers are achieving leveraging the ServiceNow platform. The first of that is, how do they actually maximize IT agility? So how do they rationalize the set of applications that they have in their ecosystem across IT, create more efficiency, create additional cost savings? Automate the whole service assurance segment, so the network performance, the network processes, integrating them into, really helping bridge that convergence between cloud and IT, as well as the core network. And then proactive customer care. So how can they elevate the customer experience to the next level? And then finally, optimize talent management or, improved employee experience. So I'm going to give you examples of 1 or 2 customers across each of these pillars and how they've actually achieved outcomes leveraging ServiceNow as a platform. So just to iterate, right? On ServiceNow as a single platform, you can actually unify your processes across IT, networks, and customer enabled by open APIs. You've got the ability to be very agile with simplified cross-business workflows that are also sort of working under the structured governance of ITIL. You can have the intelligence within the platform that can help automate repetitive tasks, drive improved collaboration between employees and drive, improved outcomes for your customers. You've got a single database that can extend all the way from your core network elements to your customer-facing services. And then you can also manage your experiences for your customers and your employees across the channels that they prefer. And that is the region we can actually drive really fast outcomes for our customers. So shifting gears to the first pillar, which is proactive customer care. So the whole point of driving, the challenges that a lot of our customers face are, poor NPS, lack of automation. What ServiceNow can do is help a lot of that ticket creation, automate that, keep customers proactively informed, empower customers to have easy access to self-service tools, and then finally empowering your agents in the call center with the right information to provide the customers in real time if they get contacted. And then what this will actually get you is really the ability to kind of provide an improved cost to serve base to your customers, timely and accurate resolution, obviously improving customer satisfaction, lifting your NPS. If your NPS goes up, I'm sure all of you know that reflects in, more wallet share or more revenue from the customer. And another way we can also do that is by eliminating order fallout. So you've got visibility of everything that's coming through the funnel. Now, one of our largest customers that has actually deployed this next level of care for their customers is Vodafone. So Vodafone Global Enterprise, which looks after the top 3,000 customers of Vodafone in the UK, deployed ServiceNow in about 4 to 5 drops of 3 to 4 months. So over the course of about 18 months, they started with rolling out customers with specific product portfolios and specific regions onto the ServiceNow platform. They were able to consolidate 24 different systems that they were leveraging to support all of these customers across the globe. They were able to actually join the products and services that customers were consuming into one single console for the agent to view and push them through a portal that their customers could create new services on, view the visibility of existing services, as well as make changes to those services as they saw fit as well. Just the fact that they were able to get that transparency, that visibility, significantly improved their NPS scores. So the NPS uplift was about 40 points within the space of 18 months when they went live with the platform. Because they were able to connect all of these services together, there were less handoffs between agents. So agent productivity went up by nearly 50%, 45%. And then this resulted in a directly proportional reduction in the cost to serve for these customers. So again, very, very strong outcomes. When I spoke to Chris Holmes, who used to run that program, he basically told me that the outcomes that they achieved were so significant that, you know, their service desk went from about 2,500 agents to about 1,400 agents over the case of about 18 months. And they managed most of it through attrition. So without having to let people go, just by creating a lot of this efficiency. And then they repurposed some of their agents into more sort of customer facing roles. Looking at specific metrics and outcomes that they achieved, their resolution times for incidents went down from 1.5 hours down to 50 minutes, just because they were able to look at the root cause of issues as soon as they popped up. And again, that reflected directly into the productivity uplift. The notification times, as soon as something went wrong, it used to take them 45 minutes to identify when something had gone wrong and notify the customer that, hey, we're working on it. This went down from 45 minutes to 5 minutes because they were proactively notifying their customers. And I think this was one of the main causes of the uplift. The 25% uplift was actually driven by that. And again, yeah, to that point, the CSAT went up by 25 points as well. So all in all, a very significant outcome in terms of productivity. Because they were proactively notifying customers, their incoming call volumes went down by about 6,000 calls a month as well. So, you know, a very strong outcome. We actually have a published case study that we can share with you about the Vodafone journey as well, if you're interested. So that's one customer, Vodafone in the UK. Another customer I wanted to talk about, which is very near and dear to my heart, is Optus, which is a large telco operator in Australia. I actually worked at Optus till about 4.5 years ago when I joined ServiceNow. And this was one of the initiatives that my team had sponsored. So, you know, so for the B2B side of Optus, so the segment that was supporting our enterprise customers, the top sort of 2,500 accounts in Australia, we had a real challenge going back about 5 or 6 years, where we had 16 different customer-facing portals. And the problem was, across these 16 portals, because there was very inconsistent functionality, branding, look and feel, the online uptake was less than 3%. So most of the transactions that customers had with Optus were coming through like a phone or an email channel, so very manual. We had 10 different service desks, and this was because of the growth that had happened, both organically as well as through acquisition. They were performing similar sort of, you know, customer-facing functions to take calls and provide updates. And we also had 4 different service management systems. Now, the complexity came into play when, you know, you had a single customer that had subscribed to about 10 to 15 different products or services from Optus, had to go through multiple channels, had to call multiple numbers, got different ticket IDs for issues that were being resolved for them or orders that were being fulfilled. And this resulted in a very low NPS. In fact, my personal experience, I was actually sitting with a CIO for a large insurance company that was one of our customers. And, you know, I was there with the sales VP because this particular customer was coming up to renewal. And, you know, the sales VP took me because, you know, I could talk about how they can use self-service with ServiceNow and, self-service with Optus. And I actually told her, hey, your self-service uptake is really poor. If you increase your uptake, then, you know, we can work with the sales teams to try and see how we can make your renewal more efficient. And I think we suckered ourselves into this situation because she pulled out a paper from her drawer And she said, let me tell you why we don't use self-service with Optus. And she logged into 6 or 7 different portals with different usernames and logins. There was no single sign-on. There was just different experiences. And it was quite embarrassing for us. But we used that as an opportunity and went back to our MD. I used to be the CIO there. And we said, hey, you know, we've got this customer, which is one of our top 20 strategic accounts. They're going to churn because we can't give them a great experience. So my MD, essentially the CEO of Optus Business, turned around to me and said, okay, well, here's some budget. You've got 9 months to fix this problem, because that's how long our budgeting cycles were left in that financial year. So we went through a rapid, fast RFP process in 6 weeks. We had the usual suspects respond to the RFP process, but my team, as well as some of the business stakeholders, were just blown away with what ServiceNow could do. So we awarded the contract to ServiceNow, and we deployed the outcomes within about 7 months in 3 launches. The first launch was for all of our ICT services. The second launch was for all of our telco services customers. And then the third launch was the top end of managed service customers. So we consolidated all of that. We went from 16 portals to 1. We went from 4 different service management systems to 1. And, you know, some significant outcomes. So we improved SLA performance by 95%. You know, we drove significant uptake in self-service. So 98% of all mobility service orders, et cetera, started coming through the portal. Across the board, we went from 3% online uptake to about 29%, 28% online uptake. Our target was to achieve 10x growth there, so we nearly got there. But the good thing was, out of those transactions, 80% of them were fully automated end to end. So, you know, we were able to create about 25% efficiency in our service desk, right? Which was significant for us. And the other thing, the way we structured our service catalogs, customers could come in and, you know, if they ordered a mobile phone as part of the relational catalog, it went over and, you know, proposed for them to add an accessory. So we drove like product revenues in the mobility space up by nearly 9-10% as well. And interestingly, these were high margin revenues. So on an iPhone, we made like $10 or $15 in product margin. On a $40 accessory attachment, we made about $22 in margin. So, you know, it was pretty good margin business that we added. The ServiceNow portal and how easy it was to configure actually blew us away. It kind of influenced my decision to join ServiceNow. You know, we were able to, and this is essentially what our customers at Optus see from an Optus business perspective. They go through the Optus URL, they click and they authenticate themselves, and all of their services are visible in one place. They can create an incident, manage their mobility services, their fixed, their data services, shop for phones, shop for routers, look at their ICT services, view their bills. So it's really that one-stop shop across the whole customer lifecycle, day to operations onwards. And as part of the whole initiative, we also rebranded a couple of acquisitions that we had done, Alphawest and Uecom, onto Optus. And, you know, for some of the performance tooling, we built single sign-on where engineers could go and look at their network performance and stuff like that through the same portal front end. So Optus has come a long way since then. They've also deployed some pretty interesting capabilities in terms of core network, order management, order fulfillment as well. And, you know, let me show you what they're thinking of right now. So in today's environment, if you look at that whole top layer, the customer engagement through to order, projects, billing, ITIL service management, reporting, analytics, all of that is made visible to them through the ServiceNow portal. Now, when a customer places an order for a new service, that order is then flowed through into the core networks organization at the bottom, where the networks team have got real-time visibility of network demand. From an order management perspective, if there is bandwidth available at a site or it's a mobile SIM activation, that flows through automatically into Netcracker for the SOM layer, and then the actual orchestration of the order happens. Optus uses us for customer projects and field service management. We can give visibility to the customer around how their project status is performing, where across that life cycle the project is. If there's a field tech visit that's imminent, we can give them visibility of where that technician is, and lots more. They can download their bills, obviously do any kind of service transaction. And again, there's knowledge management enabled by AI as soon as they log in their portal. So, they can do search for things, and the system helps them. And then the good thing by connecting into the core network is that the networks team now also has visibility of business demand. They can actually manage their capacity effectively. They can tie up, proactively inform them of any network related issues. The service maps have been built so that impacted customers are made aware of anything going wrong proactively, as well as updates on how their issues are being resolved. So a pretty interesting deployment there. And then we built a lot of integrations across the various channels, right? So we built integrations into Oracle, Salesforce, MuleSoft, Netcracker, SolarWinds, Xenos. So I think Optus has got about 60 integrations right now, including customer ticket exchange, using this concept called e-bonding that we have on the platform for about 8 strategic accounts. And then that's a growth business for them as well. So there are a couple of customer care or proactive customer care examples. The more we grew in care, a lot of our customers started saying, hey, you need to help us execute on transforming our core network as well. We want you to launch new products so that we can integrate customer-facing services into the core network. And then we started working with them to say, well, what does this architecture look like, right? And at a high level, this is what we've built out. So what you can see in the middle over here, the customer engagement and the NOC or service management layer, all of that is managed in ServiceNow. And I'll spend 1 minute talking through how this architecture works that some of our customers have deployed and are deploying. So once you onboard a customer, your profile of the customer through your CRM CPQ tool gets copied into ServiceNow and populated into the database, the CMDB. We also integrate downstream into your network inventory management systems, as well as your fault management or alerting platforms. This is your customer-facing agent. This is your NOC operator and your field tech. They're all working completely out within ServiceNow. If an event comes through where something goes wrong, this event triggers an alert, which then looks at the CMDB or our database, looks at who the impacted customers are based on the element that's impacted. It could be a fiber cut, it could be a mobile base station going out. These customer-facing services are mapped to this core network inventory. And by doing that, we can proactively notify the customers that say, hey, something's gone wrong. And that eliminates this call into the service desk agent. If they do call in, the agent can look at their customer profile and see exactly what's going on. When this incident is created, it's assigned to the right network operations team that start working on it. There is no swivel chairing that happens between this customer-facing agent and the NOC operator, because this process is now automated within the platform. So as soon as the agent gets a call, they can look at that incident. They can look at the real-time update that these NOC technicians are putting in there and inform the customer. In fact, we don't really get customers calling in anymore because they proactively get notified through this incident on whatever updates are happening on the ticket anyway. Now, if there needs to be a field tech that needs to go out, within that same process, a work order can be assigned to a field technician for them to go out and then fulfill the task. And if a change needs to happen, services need to be updated, within that same order, the change can be triggered as well. So it's really that one-stop shop for anything going wrong. And similarly, if a customer or a partner wants to order a new service, a case gets created based on the type of service. It can either be automatically deployed, or it can be assigned to the appropriate technical teams to actually fulfill, including a field tech might need to go out, drop off a router, activate a router to a new site. All of that, again, is made visible through a single sort of front end through the channel that the customer prefers. And if they do call the agent can give them a real-time update on what's going on. So that whole model typically generates anywhere between 25 to 45% efficiency for our customers. And we've demonstrated that time and time again. So taking the next step, how do we automate the core network organization? How do we accelerate the deployment of new services, across like 5G, SD-WAN, et cetera, across B2B and B2C channels? Really what customers are trying to do are trying to automate those digital resolution workflows, the monitoring and the resolution of issues pretty quickly. And then this kind of results in accelerated time to market of new services, faster service fulfillment, improved mean time to restore and SLA adherence, right? And one customer that's actually deployed this target architecture, like I talked about on the previous slide, is Tata Communications. So Tata is one of the largest fixed providers globally. They have about 8,000 employees, but their networks manage about 24-25% of global internet traffic. They operate out of like 80 countries. And they deployed ServiceNow across their customer-facing services, across their core network operations center, and across their field services team. And their field service deployment was fantastic. It was really interesting. This resulted, by joining these three groups together, they were able to kind of improve their ticket resolution times by about 26%. So essentially 26% efficiency when it came to the agents that were supporting issue resolution. And then the time it took to fulfill customer services went down by 35% as well. So they were able to recognize revenue earlier. They were able to kind of make customers happier and also create efficiency by automating a lot of that process. From a field service management perspective, they did some pretty cool things. So when ServiceNow was deployed, they were able to get a map view of where the field reps were across the areas they were supporting. They could get visibility of the rep calendar, so the appropriate jobs were scheduled. They were able to track how the reps were performing, what was the optimized route for them to get from point A to point B. If they had scheduled maintenance jobs and a major incident happened, they were able to real-time reroute, using these quick action tabs, the right people to the right locations. They also had this visual collaboration with a remote expert. So if there was a tech on site that didn't know what to do with a specific part, they could always do visual collaboration by within that same application, calling the agent and kind of working through how this would be resolved. And then finally, from a manager's perspective, they had a dashboard that they could view, who were the actual agents on field, whether they were operational, what they were doing, and then, real-time change assignments, scheduling as required. So that is a little bit about automated service assurance. I'm going to spend another 5 minutes on this use case, which is really interesting, around how IT transformation can be driven, right? So it's critical in these times. Most CIOs are, tasked with the ability of making sure they streamline their operations, provide more efficiency with AI-powered tools, making sure that there's maximum collaboration between teams and operational productivity goes up, not only within their organization, but across the business. And then obviously resolving issues faster is kind of table stakes. They have to do that. And some ways we can enable this is by reducing outage times, reducing the TCO, the total cost of ownership, as well as providing faster responses to meet the business requirements that end users have. A real transformational use case that we deployed at scale was with Airtel. Airtel in India is one of the largest telcos, and I might share a little bit of that scale and then come back to what they've done. So they have over 300 million customers. 80% of their services are on the cloud. right? Their IT team manages over 3,000 databases, manage over 2,000 racks. 50% of their network is virtualized. They do petabytes and petabytes of backup and storage across multiple OS instances, right? And then this is enabling about 300 business services that they support. They have 30 monitoring tools that are integrated, driving over 200K alerts a month. They have about 80 different business service parts that support those microservices and other business functions, and over 100,000 users. So it's really a large telco at scale. And what Airtel did last year was they deployed ServiceNow, ITSM, and ITOM in record time. So this is probably the fastest deployment I've seen in telecom in my time at ServiceNow. So they went live with IT service management, consolidating 4 different legacy systems into one, including populating their CMDB with the service maps in 6 weeks. And they took another 8 weeks to go live with IT operations management, which was, building all the service parts, building the integrations to 30 different monitoring platforms, all in the space of another 8 weeks, right? And what this was able to do, they were able to achieve a 75% reduction in outage hours, because they were able to get to the pinpoint of, or the root cause of the issue as soon as it popped up. So if it was a network issue, they were flooded with alarms. Getting to the root cause took them a lot of time, a lot of inefficiency, because they had to work at the app layer, the DB layer, the OS layer, the server and storage layer, etc., just to find out that, hey, this is a network related issue. And by doing that, they were able to also reduce the manual effort that it took to resolve incidents by about 80%. And just overall, the service resolution times, they improved by about 48%, so nearly 50% as well. From a self-service perspective, their employees used to use their channels, the self-service channels, to the tune of something like 12% was the initial stat when they went, before they went live with ServiceNow. And by delivering like a 3-click experience and through a mobile app as well, they were able to improve that uptake to 52% within 12 months. So again, a lot of efficiency created for the business. I really love this quote on the right-hand side of the screen. So Sunil Bharti Mittal was the gentleman who founded Airtel a few years back. So his motto was, when faced with the choice between perfection and speed, choose speed, perfection will follow. So, if they were to listen to every stakeholder and every requirement, they would still be deploying the platform. Their group CIO was a very strong sponsor. She came in and she said, hey, we want to deploy ServiceNow out of box. If anybody does not want to go out of box, please ask them to come and get approval from me. And guess what? Overnight, all of the processes that were deployed went out of box. And it is a pretty top-down heavy approach, but they were able to drive some significant outcomes. This was last year. What they've done is they've taken it a step further this year, where they've gone down the route of self-healing. So they already collect all the events from the multiple sources into a central data lake with ServiceNow IT operations management. There they correlate the data on a single console to get to the root cause of the issue. And based on the right event that's actually triggered this issue, they've built this decision tree concept using workflow and orchestration in ServiceNow. This basically says that event code XYZ, the root cause of that issue is IP failure, protocol failure, something like that. The resolution of that is, reroute, backup, restart the process, etc. So they've actually built that whole automation layer. And it's not just ServiceNow that does that automation. They've integrated into multiple downstream applications, whether it be Ansible, Bash, SSH, Jenkins. And the real sort of, when I spoke to Vikrant, who is our platform owner over there, he said that, automation is pretty simple, but you need to know what you need to automate. So if your inputs aren't accurate, your resolution is going to be incorrect. So that's why they invested a good 6 to 8 months building this decision tree concept. And what this has actually done, an example of this in the prepaid space would be, if their prepaid process hangs, and India is a big prepaid market, an alert goes to ServiceNow, a ticket is auto-created, the ServiceNow orchestration engine automatically fires off a restart of the process, and they've been able to achieve a total activation score of 95% of customer activation in 5 minutes. So if you think about 95% of 2,000, that's 1,950 or 1,900 processes that get restarted on a monthly basis. That's 1,900 customers that they retain, because the prepaid market is very fickle. If you don't actually activate their SIM, they'll just chuck it, go to the next store and buy the competitor SIM card, and off they go. The other area where they're significantly automating is this concept of security operations center. So they've actually achieved about 73% autonomous remediation across all of these services that you can see. And their target was to get to 100% by September. Now, these slides are a couple of months old. I'm sure they're very close to it if they haven't already gotten there. So what does this mean when it comes to the services that they've got and the services that they're targeting from an activation perspective? The business outcomes they've achieved are quite significant, right? So they've achieved 70% self-healing across their prepaid market and the mobile market, and about 50% self-healing across B2B. Now, the last use case I'm going to touch on is that of employee. Apologies. The last experience that they've got is one which is really focused on employee service portal. We've got outcomes like digitizing complex HR processes, automating repetitive tasks, eliminating red tape. The outcomes that have been achieved by a customer called PLDT in the Philippines is significant. So they went through this process of identifying what the key pain points were that their employees had. And what Gartner says is that leading HR organizations aspire to provide a consumer grade experience, right? That is the key. Can you provide a consumer grade experience to your enterprise employees? If you can, then they're going to get a lot happier and be a lot more productive in the workplace. So what PLDT did was they were able to consolidate a lot of their legacy applications into ServiceNow digital workflow using IT, HR, and platform, and then built the integrations into the back end. So their project was called One Hub. So it is a one hub for their employees to go to for any kind of HR, IT, procurement request that they might have. And then basically this leads to the employees being a lot happy, a lot more productive. They save something like 15 to 20% productivity for mundane tasks that most employees have. Now, these are kind of some of the 4 key pillars. We have lots of other customer examples that I could share with you. So please reach out if you're interested in any of these outcomes. We are also investing in telco-specific products, and our strategy there is really focused on, what are the data models we need to have that are relevant for telco? How do we have out-of-box digital workflows that are available for our customers? Building more depth in the care and service assurance space, as well as order management, making sure our platforms are scalable from a telco network performance perspective, and then also that we're interoperable with other platforms in the marketplace, like your netcrackers, et cetera, that can actually adopt. And we're being very conscious about making sure we're aligning with TM Forum open APIs to get the outcomes that our customers want. So in summary, why ServiceNow? We really believe that we can make the world of work better for telcos. We can do that by having a single platform that can connect the network to the customer, giving you that differentiated experience for your customer across the channel that they prefer, as well as for your employees. And we're also committed and aligned to making sure that we have a roadmap of TM Forum open APIs that we can share with you. So with that, I'd like to thank you for your time. I've really enjoyed talking through this. Apologies for the couple of interruptions with the lightning and people trying to call me. But I'd really like to engage you more. Please feel free to reach out through my team that'll be running this session. And again, thank you for your time.